The Nintendo Switch launched on the 3rd of March 2017 with what was a relatively modest selection of launch titles. Overall, there were 10 games available at launch, with 5 of them being retail releases and the other 5 being digital exclusive games that could be purchased through the eShop. This video, however, is only going to focus on the retail launch titles for the Nintendo Switch, because this may be a hot take, but I feel like a true launch title is a game that you can pick up in-store on launch day with your system. So I'm just going to take a moment to briefly tip my hat to these digital games. You have been acknowledged. I know you exist, but I don't want to talk about you, so you can fuck off now. Thank you. Bye-bye. Alright, perfect. So now that that's out of the way, we are left with 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Skylanders Imaginators, and Super Bomberman R. And what we're going to do in this video is we are going to place these games into 3 categories. They're either going to go into the good, the bad, or the ugly. And from this, we'll hopefully be able to determine how good the Nintendo Switch's launch lineup really was. But before we get into that, I just want to say what the fuck, because 97.4% of you guys watching my videos are not subscribed. So if you're sitting there watching this video and enjoying what you're seeing, I'd appreciate it if you could please subscribe, as that helps out the channel a heap. Anyways, let's get into this. 1-2 Switch. This game is a collection of 28 minigames which are designed to be simple, short, and above all, fun. Each minigame serves as a unique showcase of the Nintendo Switch and what its Joy-Con controllers are capable of. With 1-2 Switch, instead of looking at the TV or the Switch's screen, players are pretty much watching each other throughout the experience. And overall, whilst 1-2 Switch isn't the most in-depth, hardcore game you have ever come across in your life, it's got some pretty fun games such as Quick Draw, which is a Wild West style reaction game using the motion control on the Joy-Cons. You've also got Count the Balls, which uses the HD rumble in the Switch controller to help the player with guessing the number of balls in the box. And you've got Soda Shake, which I primarily like because in this ad here, it kind of looks like they're doing something else rather than shaking a soda. So anyways, 1-2 Switch is a great game to whip out every once in a while when you have some friends around for a casual gaming experience. It's definitely not a game that I would see myself sinking any more than 1 to 2 hours into, but it is a lot of fun in short bursts. And it also serves a pretty important role in the Nintendo Switch's launch lineup of being a great casual introduction to the Switch itself and what it's capable of. Therefore, 1-2 Switch is going in the good. Just Dance 2017. Now, this is a game I haven't played a lot of, but I've definitely had a few experiences with it because my sister went through a brief phase where she was very addicted to this game and forced me to play with her. And overall, the game's pretty fun. I definitely see the appeal of it, and similarly to 1-2 Switch, I think this is a great game that appeals to that casual audience. Just Dance 2017, if you didn't know, is essentially just a game where a model on the screen dances and you in your living room have to try follow the dance moves, and the controller with its motion sensing capabilities is able to pick up on your movements and register them. So if you like dancing, this is the game for you. But nonetheless, I actually think Just Dance 2017 also serves as a pretty good launch title. As I mentioned, it appeals to that casual audience and it's definitely a lot of fun. This game is not a reason someone would go out and buy a Switch, but it's definitely something I could see someone picking up alongside their Switch. So overall, Just Dance 2017 is going in the good. Super Bomberman R. This is a bit of an interesting one for a few reasons, which I'll get into, but Super Bomberman R is an action maze game developed by Konami and Hexadrive, and was initially published as a launch title for the Nintendo Switch, and later released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows. Now, this game actually had a lot of hype leading up to the Switch's launch, because the Bomberman series had not seen a new game released within it for 20 years. So this got a lot of OG Bomberman fans pretty interested in the game, and also drove up a lot of hype for people who had never heard of Bomberman as well. So it definitely gets a tick for being a pretty noteworthy game in the Switch's launch lineup. However, the actual gameplay itself isn't too interesting. It basically retains the exact same classic gameplay elements that Bomberman was already known for, and it doesn't really go any further than that. It's kind of like a graphics update for Bomberman. It's definitely not awful, but in my opinion, it lacks a bit of purpose. So whilst yes, it did have a decent amount of hype in the lead up to the Switch's launch, it definitely fell flat once the Switch came out, and it's kind of faded into obscurity ever since. You don't really hear too many people talking about Super Bomberman R these days. Pretty much the only noteworthy thing about it is that it was a launch title for the Switch. So for those reasons, Super Bomberman R is going in the bad. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game was the reason to buy a Switch at launch. Appealing to both hardcore Nintendo fans as well as the more casual players, Breath of the Wild not only reinvented the Legend of Zelda formula, but also redefined what an open world action-adventure game can be. There's no doubt about it that at the time of the Switch's launch, you simply could not find an experience like this anywhere else. The sheer expansiveness of Hyrule in this game is truly astonishing, and the sense of adventure that this game invokes on the player is simply captivating, and I think nothing illustrates this better than this moment in the game's intro. Is it bad that I'm already extremely nostalgic over this? I just love it so much. But anyways, on top of all of that, Breath of the Wild was also the only flagship Nintendo franchise to have a game at launch on the Switch, which means that this game fills a very important niche in the Switch's launch lineup. Therefore, Breath of the Wild is going in the good. Skylanders Imaginators. In summary, this game is pretty much an action-adventure that is focused on exploration with a bit of puzzle solving and combat as well. Overall, the game is a pretty good quality experience for people who are into Skylanders. I'm personally not one of those people, but I can appreciate the game for what it is. However, out of all of the games in the Switch's launch lineup, this is by far the one that is talked about the least today. And I think the reasons for this is firstly because Skylanders has kind of fallen in popularity since 2017, and as well as this, whilst it did launch on the Switch, it also came out on the PS3, PS4, Wii U, Xbox 360, and Xbox One at the same time, so no one was buying a Switch to play Skylanders Imaginators. I don't feel like this game really fills any purpose at all in the Switch's launch lineup. It's barely remembered today, so for that reason, it's going in the bad. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for all of the Switch's launch titles. Obviously, there was only 5 retail releases, so there wasn't too many to go through. And looking at the list, we didn't even have any that went into the ugly category, which is pretty noteworthy. However, I will say this. Whilst none of these games were in the ugly category, I do feel like the Switch's launch lineup was extremely lackluster in quantity. If you take out The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I think a lot of of people would have vastly different opinions on the Nintendo Switch's launch lineup, so take that with a bit of a grain of salt. I do feel like there should have been more games here. But anyways, that wraps it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe and hit that like button, and let me know what you guys think of the retail Switch launch titles. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, with that, I will see you guys with the next one. Bye bye.